I'm on my way to pick up a car which I have not seen other than some pictures online. I got it at an auction. Does it work? Is it any good? Will it be a good decision or a terrible decision? All this and more on this old car. There it is, sitting there in the park, ready to be collected. Right, I'll go and sort out the keys and see if it's actually going to run. So I've got the keys and there's the car. It looks in pretty good condition, so so far I'm pretty happy. I might get that out of the way. But yeah, first impression is pretty good. It only came with the one key, and let's see if it works. Yep, so the central locking works, that's good. Open her up. And this is the interior. It looks pretty nice. I'm quite happy with that. Over the back. But yeah, this looks very tidy. I think the guy in the auction, he said it was owned by an old guy and he drove it in here, so that's a good sign. It means hopefully it'll drive out. It's still registered, so I'm planning on just getting in, starting it and driving it home. So let's have a look at the interior here. That's quite nice. How many Ks has it done? 226. It's barely running. We've got our original Becker Grand Prix radio. That's awesome. All of the nifty buttons. What does this one do? So that's the rear light. Hazards. That drops the headrest down at the back, but they're already down, so it's not going to do anything. And this button here, it looks like it's the rear demister button. Cool. So HVAC controls. We've got the auto here. There's no S or E button on the auto, like some of them have a standard and economy mode. Oh, there is a paper clip down there. That's interesting. And electric windows. That must be for the passenger mirror, because the driver mirror has already got an adjuster on it. And I think that's the child lock for the windows at the back. Right, enough fiddling around. Let's start it. Where does the key go? I'm keeping an eye on, there it goes, oil pressure. So that's a good sign. We've got heaps of oil pressure straight off the bat. Seems to be idling fairly smoothly. I've got up here a flashing seatbelt light. That works. Normal light. No, yep, that all works. And what's this? Looks like a sunroof. Hey, look at that. Push back to open, push forward to close, and then push up to tilt up, and then pull down to pull it back down. What a cool switch. So I guess there's nothing left to do but to go for a cruise. Let's shift it into drive. Alright, it's shifted in pretty good. The handbrake's on. So the handbrake is actually operated down here with your foot, which is quite different. And we release it here. Now this guy's in my way. We have to squeeze past his bull bar. Power steering feels nice and light. Yeah, she just cruises. What a beast. This could be quite a good buy. Look at that three-pointed star out there. Oh, she just glides. It's beautiful. One thing I've already figured out about this car is that it drives exceptionally smoothly, which is a good a good sign. It's actually a relief, because you just don't know what the drivetrain's like. But it seems really smooth, really composed. The gearbox is quite lazy, but I think that's pretty normal for these W124s. You need to give it a real shove with your right foot to get it to kick down and to do anything remotely exciting. But it actually provides for the calm and relaxed nature of this particular vehicle. So the luxury cars of our modern era, they're designed to be super sporty, you know, get around the Nürburgring in so many seconds and have giant wheels and low profile tires and sports seats. And in my opinion, they're just not comfortable and relaxing anymore. It's all about the gadgets. But this car is super relaxing. It's just everything about it, his whole vibe is just yeah, calm, get you where you need to go without any fuss, rapidly but comfortably, and you end the journey relaxed. So that's what I like about this particular vehicle. They don't make them like this anymore. Okay, so we know this car's no rocket ship, and this certainly isn't that kind of channel, but I thought I should do a 0 to 100 just for funsies and get that out of the way. So be ready and go. And there's 100. Well, that certainly felt a lot quicker than I expected. That's she certainly can pick up her skirts and hustle. So first things first, the door's shut like a tank. Such a satisfying sound. And that door noise is a great example of why these are regarded as some of the best cars ever made. There was just no shortcuts taken in regards to engineering. Those German engineers just thought, if we can make the best car we can, if we can do it, let's just do it. And they did. And the result we have here is the W124 Mercedes, otherwise known as the E-Class. This is the 2.6 litre version. And that 2.6 straight six motor is unexciting, but practical. And yeah, this is the beast. So let's have a closer look around. And there is a few things wrong. I'll show you those as we look around the car. This model came with the so-called classic manhole cover alloys, and they're in pretty good condition. Haven't been curbed too much. We should probably look at the passenger side really, see if that's got more damage. But this one's pretty good. Tyres on the other hand, yeah, they could do with a bit of a refresh. So just a slight bit of scrubbing on the outside of the tyre, yeah, and they're probably just about at their limit. So a new set of tyres will be in order for this particular car. So you can see on the back here, we've got the 300e 2.6. It really denotes a lower level of 300e. I don't know why they still called it a 300e, because they did make the 260e, which essentially that is what this is. This particular model, like I said, is a pre-facelift model, and so that means it comes with the orange indicators front and rear, which I prefer. I like that more than the clear look that came in the facelift model. The boot, of course, this being an executive model from Mercedes, no expense spared, the boot lock will also control the central locking. Door's locked. Pretty cool that they thought of that. So you can lock and unlock the car from the back. Also the boot locks and unlocks from the driver's door, as does the fuel filler cap, locks and unlocks with the central locking. Speaking of boot, it really is quite cavernous. So yes, a really good sized boot, and in the boot here I just discovered that it had some floor mats, which explains probably why the inside is so nice. Maybe I'll put these back in the car, but they do look slightly used. And I like the original look, but I don't want to get the inside dirty. It's a conundrum, isn't it? So if we have a look underneath the carpet here, we can see the spare wheel. Now there's normally a toolkit in here, so that's obviously not in this particular car, but I can see down into the spare wheel well, and it's not rusty, it's all solid. Great, there's been no water leakage in here, good to see. As is typical with German cars of the era, we've got our removable warning sign that we can put out on the road in case we get stuck somewhere with a flat tyre. We can let vehicles know that there's some danger coming up ahead. And once more, we'll listen to the shut sound. Ah, gee, it's good. Let's have a look in the back seat. And yeah, you can see it's just in excellent condition. Maybe they just never had kids or dogs by the looks of it. And it also certainly doesn't seem like anyone's ever smoked in this car, which is very nice. But yeah, the back is perfect condition. Not super roomy for an executive sedan. You do have cutouts for your knees here, but certainly a comfortable seat to sit in. But yeah, that's the back seat. Nothing else to be said really. Ashtray, which is very German, very 80s. As far as the driving seat goes, it's just a nice place to be. Everything's laid out nicely, everything's kind of where you want it, everything's within reach, and it's just, yeah, an ergonomic triumph. When you compare this with English cars of the day, they might have felt a bit more like a country club on wheels. This is very Germanic and almost austere, but everything is super high quality. So we've got a leather wrapped steering wheel and a leather gear stick. The seats are vinyl, which is crazy to think about. When this car, when it was new, it cost over $100,000 35 years ago. So only the executives were driving these things. And it came with vinyl seats, vinyl door trim. However, this is MB-Tex vinyl. And MB-Tex vinyl is just in another league when it comes to vinyl. It's held up amazingly well. Again, a 35-year-old car, not a sign of any wear on it anywhere. Still looks clean, still looks like it's just rolled out of the factory, which is incredible. Soft, supple. Yeah, I'm not worried at all that it's not leather. I'm quite happy with it, and knowing that it's going to be hard wearing and last the distance. So, like I alluded to before, there are a few things wrong with this car that are going to need to be rectified, which we'll do here on the channel. One of them being that the odometer doesn't work, and that's an issue. So it's got 226,000 Ks on it. When it did 226,000, it could have been last week or it could have been 10 years ago. Another thing that's fairly major that I do want to get rectified is the aircon doesn't seem to be working at all. Doesn't matter which button I push or don't push, the air conditioning compressor is not engaging. The other thing that doesn't work with the HVAC is the fan control. Well, it works, but it only has one speed, and that's high. So I think from my Google researching, that's to do with the switch. So I'll pull that switch at some point and we'll have a look at that. Another thing I discovered is not working is the cruise control. It just won't do anything. And they're more the major things that are wrong with the car, and nothing that affects its day-to-day driving or use other than maybe the aircon here in a Australian summer. But yeah, it just seems to drive and ride really nice, which I'm really happy with. So the mechanicals just seem to be in tip-top shape. It does look like this car obviously has been looked after for its life. When you buy something at an auction, you just don't know, and so I'm pleasantly surprised that it's actually a really good car. There's a few other minor things wrong, which I'll just go through. The fader button doesn't seem to fade. It works in the middle to front and rear, but anytime I fade it, just seems to be front only. So maybe it's not wired up properly. I'm not sure on that one. The other thing that's not working is the fog light switch. I believe you're supposed to pull it out to activate the fog lights, but it just comes off with my hand. So that's going to have to be either replaced or repaired somehow. And a couple of other minor things. These headrests, I believe, are supposed to tilt forward. They don't. So whether they're jammed inside and need freeing up. The back ones do. The back ones sort of tilt quite nicely. And finally, the other thing that's wrong with it is the outside temperature gauge doesn't seem to work. When I start the car, it tells me negative 38 degrees and then disappears. So that's obviously broken somehow. Cosmetically, the car seems to be really good. I mean, it's 35 years old, so there's signs of wear and tear. Not as much as you'd think for a 35-year-old car. And certainly it appears the car's probably been garaged and looked after most of its life. There's certainly signs of polish on the car, which is a good sign. That means the previous owner looked after it, polished it, and cared for it. Another thing I'd like to mention is that this car has the original first aid kit in the back. If we open up here, we can see the original first aid kit full of German writing and German bandages. How neat is that? I do find this car quite interesting. It's not jam full of gadgets, but it was so expensive when it was for sale. And I put that down to just the amount of engineering that's gone into this car and the amount of thought that's gone into it. They haven't just got like throwing screens and gadgets and flashy lights at it like happens so often nowadays. They've actually thought about what people need and how can we be comfortable in a vehicle, and they've integrated that into this car. Great little features and touches that you don't even see in modern cars now. Things like in between the driver's and passenger seat, they've got a little buffer there so that you can't drop stuff in that annoying crack, which is a great idea. Why don't we keep doing that? Another great feature of this car is when you pull the bonnet release inside, you get a little thing that sticks out of the grille here, so you don't have to wedge your hand under and get it all kind of greasy and dirty under there. You just pull this little plastic tab and it opens up nicely. Not just that, it goes even further, because this is obviously a great place to hit your head repeatedly when you're trying to put your head in the engine bay, but they did think about that. There's just a couple of tabs we can release on either side. And it goes to a vertical position. Plenty of room to get in there, work on the car, even pull the engine out if we need to without taking the bonnet off the car. So clever. Speaking of engine, this is the 2.6 litre straight six engine, overhead camshaft, just super reliable. I don't anticipate anything much going wrong with it. It is leaking a bit of oil, so I might attend to that at some point. It could probably do with a new set of leads and plugs. These leads do look original and I can see cracking in the insulation, so that could be on the cards to replace as well. Another lovely feature on these cars is we've got our windscreen washer fluid here. This is actually heated. There's a heater in here so that in winter time it doesn't freeze up. The nozzles that squirt it onto the windscreen also heated, so on our frosty mornings we get here in Tasmania, it's not going to be an issue anymore. Speaking of windscreen washers, this car has one of the best engineered windscreen wipers I've ever seen. Check this out. It's on an eccentric pattern, so it only needs one wiper to cover all of the windscreen. In fact, it gets better coverage over the windscreen than any car with two wipers that I've ever seen. So why doesn't every car have this? Just engineering at its finest. One thing in modern cars that has come a long way is, of course, our entertainment systems we have in cars, which are, yes, very convenient nowadays with Bluetooth and etc. This obviously doesn't have that because it's of the period. It's a Becker Grand Prix, came with the car, and it actually sounds really good. Better turn that off so I don't get a YouTube content match. But it's a great system, and for an 80s car it sounds pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the sound, but I am going to look into what I can do to get Bluetooth into this particular unit. But it also has a tape player, of course, being of the period. Let's see if the tape player works. Now I don't have a tape on hand, so let's have a look in the glove box, see if there's anything in here that might help us out. Original touch-up paint in the colour of the car. So we've got the original owner's manual, that's nice to have. A maintenance book. So the latest stamp I could find in it was 08, and it had done 200,000 Ks at that time. So sometime between 2008 and what is it now, 2025, the speedo has broken, or the odometer has broken at 226. So yeah, who knows how many Ks a car has on it. I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things, we'll never know. We've got some brochures from Mercedes-Benz. We've got some instructions on the tempo mat system, which is their fancy name for cruise control. Shift lock, which is probably something to do with the transmission. Instructions on how to use the jack, something about the safety belts, information on the air conditioning, the Australian supplement for the owner's manual. We've got here the instructions for the stereo and the code, which is good because if you disconnect the battery and once it's code, you don't have it, good luck getting it to work. Guarantee. And what is this? Aha. It's the demonstration cassette for the Becker stereo. And it looks unused. It still has its cardboard holder in there. Well, I guess this is as good a use as any for it. Let's find out if the stereo works. Now, I'm not super hopeful this is going to work. In fact, I hope it doesn't chew the tape. I've repaired quite a lot of home tape players in the past, and the belts have all worn out by now. Will turn to goo, so hopefully it hasn't happened in here. We'll put the cassette in. Pulls it in nicely. Huh. And it's playing.
Die Becker Autoradio GmbH hat diese Kassette vorbereitet, Ihnen bei der Erkennung von Geräuschproblemen im fahrenden Auto zu helfen.
Let's see if it plays the other side. Yeah, it flips sides.
Signalen auf UKW.
It fast forwards and rewinds.
Von
Let's
Radiosignalen auf UKW entstehen, sind oft der Grund für erfolglose Reparaturen.
I know what that is. And it ejects. Well, that's a really good sign. It plays tapes really nicely. And that's cool. If I knew German, I could understand all of what it was trying to tell me about the Becker stereo system. One thing I've noticed, and I don't know why, is there's two different sized wing mirrors on each side of the car. The driver's side is rectangle, passenger side is square. Now, looking at everything else on this car has been engineered to within an inch of its life. There must be a reason why the two mirrors are different sizes. I can't figure it out. If you know, leave a message in the comments below. So, this is my risky purchase. I've had a good look over, I've identified everything that's wrong with it, but there's so much that is right with it that I actually feel like I've got this for a real bargain. There could have been so much more wrong with it, especially since I just bought it at that auction, hadn't really looked at it, saw a photo. But yeah, it's fantastic, it's in great condition, it's full of excellent features, the inside's excellent, there's just a few little bits and pieces to sort out. If you're interested in that sort of thing, why don't you stick around? I'm going to be doing that on this channel and posting videos as I go, getting this car ship shape. But for now, you have a great day.